Hi, I'm Sarah. And it's Friday, which usually means we have BB23 live feed updates, but actually we have an episode recap and some live feed updates for you today. But first, if you're new to this channel, please click subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Welcome. Hello. Hi. Okay, so different on a Friday. We don't have an episode this Sunday, so we had our typical HOH noms episode here tonight. So let's talk about it. I'm solo, I'm alone, which means I have more time for you guys. So after we talk through this episode, we will talk about the little bit of live feed spoilers that we have gotten. And then we will open up to questions and chat and all that fun stuff. Hi, guys. Thanks for joining me on a Friday night. Thank you for having a Friday night date with me. I appreciate it. Hey, look, before we dive into this episode, can we have a little heart-to-heart here? I feel like it's been a rough week in the BB fandom, maybe a rough couple weeks in the BB fandom. And I'm seeing a lot of people very upset. A lot of people are throwing in the towel on the season. And that's okay. If you are, your prerogative. You don't have to watch anything you don't want to. But I'm also seeing just a lot of hate or attacks. And I get it, guys. I get it that you have faves. I say every year it's best to not have faves when you watch, but it's almost impossible to get faves, especially with this season. We had so many faves. We had so many people we liked. We had so many people we were rooting for. And once those people start to go, it gets really hard. And I get that. I personally still love the game. And even though, in my opinion, the best player of the season is out, I'm still interested in this end game. We've got two really good players in our Final Four and two people who have been dragged and are pretty darn entertainingly delusional about stuff. So I'm here for it. I understand, again, if you are not here for it, I just ask of you to not attack me, please. I personally have no problem with Black men. Please stop saying that I do. And let's not attack each other for having different faves or having different opinions. I feel like we have to say this every season, but it has been a tough couple weeks. And I just needed to have that heart-to-heart with you guys. I'm glad that you are here still on the journey with me. Whether you're happy or sad or mad or whatever, let's finish out this journey together. Or I don't know, just stop by and say hi if you're over it. That's fine too. But I'm still going to talk about the gameplay, and I'm still also going to make fun of some people. And that's just how it goes. So that's right. We're here for it. Let's do it, guys. I mean, honestly, we got two guys who are good at this game who are not on the same page, and that is fun. So let's watch how it's going to go down. And that's right. No matter what, a Black person is going to win. They accomplish their mission, and we have been supportive of that all season long. Much love to all of you guys. All right. Well, this double, I know I was exhausted. These house guests, definitely exhausted. There's a bit of tension. Not everybody's all lovey-dovey anymore in this house. And at the top of this episode, we're seeing the stuff that we didn't get to see in the double. They're showing us, flashing back and showing us more of the conversations. And I gotta say, Azza finally lied. What is it? Day 72 72, day 71, depending on when they taped this. Girl finally lied. Welcome to the game of Big Brother, Azah. I'm very proud of you. You did it. Unfortunately, everyone else is still lying to you. So, but yay, good for you for finally lying. Big D, he's not happy about this whole veto thing. So what we're learning here is that even though Kyland and Azah, had a one-on-one or a touch base when he won the veto, and she said, I'd prefer you not use it, he did it anyway. And he took down his good buddy Xavier off of the block and put Big D up. And Big D was not looped into this, so Big D is not very happy about it. They pulled a fast one on him, he said. And in the DR, he says he doesn't play around with their games. And at first I was like, yeah, because you don't play around with anyone's games. But then I was like, you know what? Actually, no, he does play around with Azah's game. So the one person, he's going to sit there in that chair and he's going to lie to his girl Azah, who's 100% loyal to him, who's sitting there thinking that the guys might have turned on him and that he might be going out on her HOH. And he's like, yeah, I'm so worried. Even though he knows more than likely he's fine. Last night, David and I were like, why were Xavier and Kyland continuing to talk about their vote when we all know they were voting out Hannah? Hannah was their target, has been their target. Why are they still talking? Well, turns out they each wanted to give her a sympathy vote. I mean, this cookout and their sympathy votes, this is no. I get it. If you want to give your +1 a sympathy vote, Hannah does it for DX. Tiffany would do it for Claire if she wasn't HOH and doing it herself. You can give your plus Kyland for Sarah Beth if you're not sitting on the block next to them. Okay, but neither one of you were +1s with Hannah. You both were all planning to get her out. Why are we doing this? This is, sure, you could argue it's jury management, but there's only 2 of you. And are you really fighting over which one of you gets to have some fake half-arse jury management with Hannah? Okay, I guess you are. All right. So that's what all that fuss was about. I wonder also, were they trying to frame Azah? Were they trying to make Azah look bad if they split, if it was 1-1? And Azah had to break the tie and send Hannah out? Is that their way of making Azah look bad or lose Hannah's vote? I mean, maybe. But in Kyland and Xavier's mind, they don't see Azah in Final 2. And Hannah would already know that Azah would break a tie to save Big D because that's who she is loyal to. So I don't think that would work. And so if they thought about it, maybe that's why they said, no, it doesn't really matter. Because I just think that would be petty for no reason. I don't think it really has a great game outcome, but maybe it was considered. Anyway, they considered a few things here, but they do not. Obviously, we knew that the vote was going to, or ended up unanimous to get Hannah out here. And then, so after this, we see the guys checking in, right? Kyland and Xavier check in. Kyland's like, I got you, boo. I saved you. I'm gonna take you to Final 2. You and me, aren't we cute? And of course, Xavier's like, yada, yada, yeah, uh-huh. And then he's like, no, Big D is my boo. And this I find very fun. It's great that these two are not on the same page. This makes it more fun for me, okay? Kyland is loyal to Xavier. Xavier is loyal to Big D. And this is much more entertaining. I like to see it. Oz is really upset. So we did hear more details on the feeds last night than they didn't show it in the edit here, but there was apparently a conversation when Kyland won Veto, and he did talk to Ozza, and she did voice, do not, I would prefer you not use this or whatever, which in any other season of Big Brother, I would say, yeah, whoever wins the veto, they can do whatever the heck they want with it. It is not the HOH's decision. But this cookout has set the precedent of Big Brother 23 that you do have that conversation with the HOH, you do work together, and you do not play with self-interest, right? I do believe some people have gotten in trouble for playing with self-interest, and that has been used as reasons to evict people because of them playing with self-interest. Yet Kyland had no problem playing with self-interest in this moment and using the veto on his good boo ex, even though Ozza asked him not to. Okay, DF and X. They're going to touch base here before the HOH comp. He is not happy, and Xavier is understanding. I mean, Xavier, he didn't make the move. Kyland made the move. Then Xavier can just stand there and be like, no, I don't know what he's doing, but you and I try to make Big D feel better here before they play HOH. How'd you guys like this HOH? I thought this was a super fun comp. I loved having to collect evidence. I loved how hard the details were, or it seemed like there were so many different options, and like really figuring out the details was hard. And I loved that. Once we finally get the times, I feel like the edit was a little misleading. I mean, it seemed like Big D, he missed 3. He had to go back and forth to figure out which ones he missed. So we knew he took some time. But Kyland, it seemed like, even though he got them all right, except, he got them all right, except it just took him so long to basically find it all and run back and forth and find the last one. I kind of thought his time was going to be even longer, but I mean, Xavier obviously did well from the get-go. He looked at the design and then did a quick scan and pulled off the correct one most of the time. He did so well. It was very impressive, and his time definitely showed it. He had 10 minutes and 18 seconds. Kyland had 14 minutes, 52 seconds. Big D got 15 minutes, 44 seconds? That's not right. I thought Kyland beat Big D's time. I must have written that down wrong, right? Big D had 15 minutes, 44. Oh, right, because 14. Okay, wow. It has been a long day, I guess. It's late in the day. I have no excuse for not understanding that 14 minutes is faster than 15 minutes. Woo! Yikes. Okay, we got it now. We got it. Anyway, Xavier wins HOH. Whew. Give my brain a rest. Everybody likes it? I think Hannah would have done very well as well. That's why you take her out, because she would be dominating in these last comps. Agree. Obviously, Xavier is ecstatic. He has won HOH. This is a very important HOH. He and Kylan both have been talking about how they wanted to win number 6 and number 4, because then you can automatically still play for number 3. This is important to have these HOHs, and Xavier was able to pull it out. Kylan, not so happy, really beating himself up over it. Ew, this was a hard loss for Mr. Kylan. I think you're right, Joyce. And that's exactly what I'm going to do right after this podcast. I'm going to go have a glass of wine, or I don't know, maybe something stronger. Yeah, Kylan did not handle this well. And it's tough. I mean, it's tough for both of them because they know that they're easy targets, or they're at least targets that should be considered at this point. So every comp that they don't win, every time they are potentially not safe, is real. So I totally get that. I know, Joyce, I find it interesting that Kylan stays in the have-not room. Xavier has stayed up there by himself a little bit. They really have embraced the have-not room. And even though have-nots ended, people still have slept up there. And now there are only 4 people in the house. One is sleeping in the have-not room. One is sleeping in the HOH room. And so there are like literally empty rooms. Isn't that so funny? Because some seasons, like everyone sleeps in the same room. Gets down to 4, they're all 4 sleeping in the same room. Everyone's different. I would want my own room, but I'd also be afraid I'm missing all the game. So we do see that Xavier and Kylan talk, but we don't get much in the edit. And I really wish I could have seen their discussion about the noms, because we know that they mapped out who was going to be nominated. And I wanted to see if Kylan tried to talk himself not being nominated. I wanted to hear this discussion, and unfortunately we didn't get it, and the feeds were down for 2 days, so I didn't get to see it. But we do see Xavier and Azah talk a little bit. He's getting her ready. Yeah, you're going to be on the block, obviously. She gets it. Sure. She says, but do you and Kylan have a final 2? No, he just saved me with a veto for no reason. No. Would you tell me if you did? Maybe. I don't know. Probably not. Nope. No, I would not, because I do, and no, I would not. Oh, Azah. They're all playing you, hon. They're all playing you. She doesn't see it. She doesn't see it. She even says in this moment, if they have a final 2, this puts me and Big D in a bad spot. And I was like, Azah, stop putting you and Big D together. It's not, do they have a final 2? Because she already knows that Big D has a final 2 with Xavier. She knows that. That has been admitted to her. He's not in a bad spot. It's just you. Ugh. So hard to watch. So hard to watch. We do see Xavier talk to Big D. And now, in case you've missed it, Xavier, Big D, and Kylan have a final 3. They have been working together for quite a while. They have always planned to be the final 3 together, meaning Azah would have to go at this time at final 4. And Big D is not only on board with it, he's already told Azah, sorry, girl, you're probably going to have to go at 4. And so for this moment where Xavier's like, I don't know, if we have Kyland available to be evicted, like, ooh, shouldn't we take Kyland out? Like, what about if we took Kyland out? And Big D's like, what? Are you kidding me? How could I take out this man who I so love so dearly love so much, loves him so dearly so much? Those are the words I wrote down. He's not talking about Azza. He's talking about Kyland, who he loves so dearly so much. Oh, we know this. I'm just feeling for Azza because when she gets out of the house and realizes this, my heart breaks for her. But she's been played. She has been played. So the noms are Azza and Kyland. So I guess I'll go right ahead, and even though I have questions, let's go right ahead into spoilers. Let's just make it clear. Spoilers. Let's talk about some other stuff. In case you don't want spoilers, you may exit at this time. This is why I wanted to see more of the conversation with Kyland, because even though a lot of people like to say it doesn't matter who the noms are, at this point, it only matters who wins veto. I understand and agree that the person who wins veto is the sole vote to evict, but it does say something who you nominate. And if you have, this is how I should phrase it, no one puts their final two on the block at this time. Even though someone else might win veto and they end up on the block, no HOH puts their final two on the block. Kyland, I want to know what Kyland feels about this. And I have not heard him talking about it today. We didn't get to see the conversation. But leaving Big D off of the block is the way that you make your final two feel safe and feel comfortable. They're fine. Everything's good. We're going to be a final two. That's what this says. And I don't know if I was reading into it, but it did look like Kyland was surprised when his name was put up there. I don't know. But here's what we do know. Here's what we did see. The feeds came back last night after the West Coast airing, and we did see Xavier and Kyland having a good, solid conversation about the fact that Kyland is someone you need to take out when you have the chance. And if Xavier is able to win this veto, or for some reason Big D is able to win this veto, this is the chance to take out Kyland. And Big D was like, oh, no, but we want Azza out. Azza has to go. We said we were going to take Kyland, not Azza. And Xavier was like, I know that you want Azza out, but who is easier to beat in comps? And Xavier's like trying to spell out how the final HOH works, to the point that Big D didn't even know that if you win part one of the final HOH, you don't play in part two. Like, he had to explain that because he was Xavier, or Big D was like, but you're gonna be. He was like, you have an easier time to beat Azza in part two than if you're playing against Kyland in part two. And he was like, no, you're going to beat them. And Xavier's like, no, I'm going to win part one, the physical part. If I win the physical challenge, then you have to beat Azza in the part two. He was like, what? You don't play? You're not going to play in both parts? So Big D learned the game of Big Brother, or at least the final part of Big Brother. But it does seem like, even though Big D was, fighting Xavier on this last night, today it did sound like Big D had sort of like, I guess this is what we're doing. It does sound like Big D is going to do whatever Xavier wants, which feels appropriate for the whole season. I think that that is what Big D has done, is whatever Xavier wanted for this whole season. So I do think, and let's go through vote scenarios here. Hi, Dory, welcome. Let's go through vote scenarios here. So we know Xavier is the HOH. If Kyland is able to win Veto and obviously save himself, which I feel like odds are really, 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 really high. Kyland is really, 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 really good at comps. So he could very easily win Veto here. He will take out Ozza because the guys have that final 3, and he feels like he has Big D in his pocket. He has felt that way for quite a while. And for the most part, that's true. He does have Big D in his pocket. I don't know if he fully knows that Xavier has him more. But that is that scenario. Then if Miss Ozza can pull out another win here, come on, girl. She will definitely evict Kyland. Obviously, she's number 1 loyal to Big D. And she has wanted to get Kyland out for so long. Yet the one time she had power, she took a pause on that. But he pissed her off. And so she's right back to, oh yeah, remember I wanted Kyland out. I still want him out. So that would be that scenario. And now this scenario goes either way. If Xavier wins Veto, which he also has really, 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 really good odds. He also is really, 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 really good at comps. If he wins, it looks like he has Big D in his pocket enough to go against what they had originally planned, which I'm actually very impressed because Xavier is a Taurus and it's hard to go against their plans. But he is willing to take out Kyland at this point. And that is the move for you, Xavier. Absolutely, that's the move for Xavier's game. I mean, I think Xavier wins no matter what. But why make the end game harder for yourself? Xavier has a much easier time beating Big D and Ozza at the comps and sitting in final 2. So this is definitely the move for Xavier. If Big D wins Veto, I think he, goes along with whatever Xavier says, except that Kyland has proven to be very influential over Big D in the past. He was able to give Big D a couple massages and get Big D to volunteer to go up on the block. He does, Big D has a crush on Kyland. Kyland does have the ability to manipulate Big D. So I would not put it past Kyland to do some massive work on Big D if Big D wins the Veto. If Xavier wins the Veto, Kyland may not know he has to do like deals or extra things. But if Big D wins the Veto, I think he will try to do some extra steps and work a little extra hard to make sure that. So if Big D wins Veto, I don't know. It's still, he was ready and willing to literally stand up in front of Ozza and say, girl, you're my best friend. I love you, but bye, I'm taking you out, which I cannot believe you would do to one of the most emotional players we've seen. But he said he was willing to do it. He wasn't happy that he has to be the sole vote to evict anyone. He ain't going to like doing it to Kyland either. This is going to be real, real hard for Big D to stand up there and evict either one of these people. But I don't think, Xavier could win. Xavier could win. But I think Kyland has really, really large odds that he will win and keep himself safe. So basically that's where we're at. I mean, there wasn't a lot to talk about on the feeds until Veto is played, which will more than likely be tomorrow per regular schedule. So after tomorrow, we'll be able to figure out more and see more on the feeds. They're all in separate rooms for the most part. They're not all lovey-dovey, but that's where we are in the game. So what else shall we talk about? Oh yeah. That's right, Ken. Kylan will cuddle, 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 cuddle. There'll be so many massages. Oh my gosh, good point, Linda. Tiffany, she'll be like, oh, hi, welcome to the jury. That kiss, that's right, Gregory, that kiss. Oh my goodness, that kiss. Oh, Barbara. No. He'll make up his own words. And Julie will probably have to be like, who are you? Or producers. I guess Julie won't be there. Wait. Yeah, Julie won't be there. Someone will have to be like, which one do you mean? Do I think that if Kyland and X make it to the final two, that X would be relying on a bitter jury? I don't think it's bitter. If X and Kyland are sitting at the final two, they have very different games. And Kyland won a lot of comps, which is a big check mark. But with making moves means blood on your hands. And his social game was not great. He rubbed people the wrong way. Whereas Xavier, who threw comps for most of the competition, so he does not have that big check mark, but his social game was phenomenal. So I don't think you're bitter either way. I think it's just a matter of, do you respect what Kylan did, or do you respect what Xavier did? Yeah, no one knows that Big D is got a famous dad. He has kept that a complete secret. Even though they speculate that X is a lawyer, it's still technically a secret. Who do I see winning America's favorite player? I think that the top three is going to be Derek X, Tiffany, and maybe Big D. If we go by those the BB bucks that we voted for, that would be my guess. But Tiffany might pull it out. Tiffany had a decent crossover between TV viewers and feedsters. And especially since she didn't end up winning, I think she might be able to pull it out. I thought it was going to be Derek X for the longest time, but I mean, I would love to see Hannah in the top three, and I know that the internet loves her, but she didn't get a ton of TV time, and it seems like the TV viewers might not, but maybe they do. Like, I don't always know how the TV only viewers see the show. So, I mean, Hannah's definitely a fave overall. Oh, Brittany, that's right. Boy, she had big coins. She has killed it in the jury. Girl is so entertaining in the jury. Maybe Brittany can still be up there. It's harder. The earlier you go out, it's harder because you get less TV time. Dory, I'm dead. Yes. This literally is the biggest move he's made all season. Hilarious. Keeping his dad a secret. I mean, I loved Claire, but she doesn't seem to be one of the top people. I mean, I know her edit with Tiffany was great for her. I love the way she went out in a spectacular eviction. But if she made it to the top 3, I think I'd be surprised. But Claire, be my best friend, please. Come on entertainment, please. Maybe. It's really, really hard to say. Really hard to say. So people have their faves. I think Tiffany has my votes. I think that's where I am right now. I think Tiffany's going to get my votes. I'm going to guess Tiffany. I'm going to guess Tiffany pulls it out with the win. The AFP win. But we'll see. You know, her edit was a little up and down all over the place, but they did a great job with sending her out with the appropriate credentials, the cred. They gave her props. We like to see it. Ooh, LaShawn. Good question. Does Azah have a shot at final 2? I don't think so. I don't think so. She would have to win her way there. And although I would love to have the confidence in her that she could do that, we have not seen that kind of performance from her thus far. What we have seen is even when she has like a good chance at winning something, she gets flustered. If she gets something wrong or something's a little off, she'll get a little flustered and she's not able to pull out these comp wins. If Xavier wins, which is the more likely scenario that he wins final HOH, he is going to take Big D to the final 2. It's an easy win for him, and they have had a final 2. So that makes sense from Xavier's standpoint. And if Big D is able to pull out the win, he too takes Xavier to final 2. He has never promised Azah he would take her to final 2. So Azah would have to win that final HOH, and she will take Big D to the end with her. And if she can claim that win, then she might have a chance at the win for sure. But that's a tough road. Danielle, yes, Azah has been studying on the feeds. She has a whole secret board with, I think it's Skittles that she uses. It was Cheerios. I think she changed it from Cheerios at one point. But anyway, yeah, she has a whole system that she's been using. She's been studying. She has the tools within her to win these comps, and she ain't shabby at physical stuff. I mean, she got nauseous on the stupid swingy one. I don't know. She can do it. But I don't know that she can do it. You know what, Linda? I said that last night. I said Xavier threw this HOH to her because he wanted to win this next one, but he did not admit to it when he was talking about it on the feeds. And so it made me go, maybe he didn't throw it. I mean, I know he didn't want to win, but maybe he wasn't actively throwing it, because why wouldn't you admit it and take that and be like, yeah, no, I threw it. She didn't really win it, you know. Yeah, Azah would have to do a lot of winning here on out. I mean, thank goodness for Xavier. I mean, she was supposed to be 4th place out, and she might be if Kylan wins his veto, but there is a chance that she's not. There's a chance that Xavier gets his way and keeps Ozza to final 3, in which case then, you know, it's basically just the final HOH at that point. So LaShawn says, imagine if Big D wins this season. It is a possibility. I mean, that would be historic. That would go down. But if he sits next to Ozza because she brought him, it's harder for him to win against her. And so many people laughed about his game all season long. I mean, house guests. So many house guests were like, what game? Oh, my God. So I feel like they would vote for Ozza over him. And I definitely know they're going to vote for Xavier over him. So even though it's it's a possibility, it's a slim chance. Lady Di, I did not watch that season, but I certainly have heard a lot about Paris. Is that how it all went down? Just had to win out? I mean, you love it when someone can win out. If someone just wins it out here at the end, that's amazing. Danielle says, who do you see possibly giving Big D votes against Xavier? I think Big D will get Ozza's vote against Xavier, and I think that Big D could potentially get Brittany's vote. That's probably it, although Sarah Beth and Alyssa both had a close relationship with Xavier in the house. If they are bitter, they could vote for Big D over Xavier because Xavier specifically lied to them. Big D lied to them too, but those are possibles. If the third round of the last HOH is quirky things, like, yeah, the jury says, Ozza could luck out. I mean, sometimes it is lucking out. That final round is hard because sometimes you're like, I don't know, did they say this or did they say that? It's good to know your jury members well, and Xavier did spend time getting to know each person pretty darn well. So I feel good about his odds in that sense. And maybe Ozza could luck out, but you know what? She spent a lot of time in that bedroom. I don't even know if she even knows who's on the jury. She was not always part of this game. I could definitely see Kylan being bitter. I mean, if Xavier and Big D are sitting in the end, even though he's bitter, I think he still gives his vote to Xavier. I don't know. That would be crazy, Dory. If Ozza won out and took Big D to the final 2, we'd all be going, we did not think we would get here, but look at us now. We didn't have anyone lead the jury roundtable last year. I don't know that we have to have somebody. I know the internet's been calling for Davon, and I Would not hate that. Paul is saying X is positioned perfectly, doesn't need to get Kai's blood on his hands. Now, here's my question. On one hand, yeah, technically, if Big D is doing the sole vote to evict Kyland, then the blood is on Big D's hands. But Xavier's going to take the credit for getting him out. Like, there's no denying that they're doing that together. If Ozza wins Veto and takes out Kyland, then yeah, no blood on Xavier's hands. But also, Ozza can take credit for that if she were to get to final two, that she took out Kyland. But I guarantee you, if Xavier gets to final two, he's taking the credit that he was able on his HOH to get to make Big D vote out Kyland. So, you know, the no blood on your hands thing it's a bit of a gray area because Kyland knows that Xavier was in on that. So there is blood, you know? Laura says, who does Kai cuddle with if he goes to jury, Sarah Beth or Tiffany? You know what? I just want to see it. Just put a camera there so I can see him enter. And Tiffany and Sarah Beth are both there. Honestly, it's probably Tiffany. Tiffany got questions about him in her exit press, and she says, hey, he's gorgeous. We have a flirt man, is how she phrased it. She didn't say much about it, but she clearly has a bit of a crush on him. So I don't think Sarah Beth does. I think Sarah Beth's a bit more, that jury segment didn't seem like Sarah Beth has too many kind things to say about him. Big D only wins if the jury feels his social game was so strong to override his failure to win comps. Yeah, but sure. But when you have other people who also had good social games but did do more in the game, you know, if you're like, oh, you know, Ozza and Big D both had great social games, or Big D and Xavier had really great social games, you know, I don't know that he beats them though. But look, stranger things have happened. Yeah, I agree, Dalton. SB is hurt. And if Kylan is sitting next to Xavier in the final two, Sarah Beth can say, I was a king with Xavier, and sure, he worked with the Alliance over me, but he did not do the unnecessary lying that Kylan did to me. Who do you see being an all-star from this season down the road? Love to see Tiffany because we had so much going for her outside the cookout that sometimes she would have rather gone with. Right. Yeah, someone was talking to me about this in the comments on the last video. Sorry, I forget who it was. They mentioned Hannah and Tiffany, and I do think Hannah comes back for sure. She's so young. She was a great player. She could definitely come back. I don't know if Tiffany's going to come back, and I don't want to like put it all on her age, but because she is a little bit older than what they usually cast, not in life, and also because she was so great. Like if you're a good player, bring them back. But when you're one of the greats, like Vanessa coming back, you know Vanessa's game and you target her immediately. Like coming back like that is really tough. So I don't know that Tiffany comes back unless it's legit an all-star season with all winners or all almost winners, you know, that kind of thing, or like a redemption season of all really great players. But that's going to be at least 10 years down the road. They're not going to do another one of those anytime soon. And then is she coming in her 60s to play? No. So I unfortunately think that this is probably the only time that we see Tiffany play, which is a real bummer. But she says she has no regrets. And I hope that sticks. I hope she's able to roll with that because, you know, Big Brother 23, no matter who wins, she's who we think of. She ran the whole game. She gets all the props and all the cred. Yep. You guys are all agreeing. Yep. That's the reality of it. I am excited for Big Brother Celebrity. I thought that had been totally canceled and, you know, not an option ever again. But here we are. It's coming back in the winter. That's a lot of fun to think about. Hopefully in January, we'll start to get names, maybe in December. But that's really exciting. And obviously we have Survivor starting next week, which is so exciting as well. It's been too long since we watched a US version of Survivor. However, Survivor South Africa has been an absolute blast. I just watched the finale with some of you guys over on Twitch, and we will be talking about that tomorrow. Chantel and I will be wrapping that up tomorrow. Next week's going to be a little bit different. I'm not sure what my video schedule is going to be. I definitely have the circle on Monday with Josh at 4 p.m. Pacific. We'll be talking about the second 2 episodes from this week on Monday, and then obviously on Thursdays as well. But Wednesday night will be the Survivor premiere, and then on Thursday night will be the BB eviction stream. But as far as Big Brother videos on Monday and Tuesday, if they're, I'll definitely be talking about Veto spoilers on Monday. If we have live feeds, maybe we'll talk about, you know, how people win in the end or something on Tuesday. So, you know, the drill. Make sure you get those notifications so you know when I go live. It's time for me to go have some dinner, go have that cocktail that we were talking about. It's time for me to ride some cocktails. Thank you guys for joining me. You're so fun. I appreciate your support. Remember, let's be kind as we get through this end game. We can do it. We can do it, guys. All right. If you're joining later, leave me a comment. Let me know how you felt about this Final Four, this Final Four HOH and these noms and this veto coming up. Let me know all your thoughts. I'll see you next time. Bye.